Welcome everyone to another episode of Time for BL. This is the podcast where we review movies, TV shows, novels, and comics, all in the boys love genre. Just wanted to give you guys a quick update. I do have an affiliate link with Amazon.com. You can actually go to the description. The link is located right there. So yeah, on to the show. So guys, the link this week is actually to a BL manga page on Amazon.com. It has Blue Kiss in English. It has My Oxygen. A lot of fan favorites are in there. If you're familiar with Heaven Official's Blessing. Heaven Official's Blessing. It's on there as well, and there's also Change of Heart. It's just a lot of awesome options on there, so definitely click that. Check out anything that you might be interested in. I know I definitely want to get Change of Heart and Blue Kiss because I've been wanting to read that in English. So yeah, go ahead and click the affiliate link in the description and check it out. First of all, I am obsessed with Six, the musical, and the Tony Awards performance, and basically any performance that Six, the musical has. I am obsessed with that play. I want to see it. Second of all, this is going to be about Dear Doctor, I'm coming for soul, for your soul, for a soul. Like, what is the title of this show? Dear Doctor is what I'm going to call it, I guess. And the thing is, like, usually when I do these, I have maybe 2 pages of notes sometimes. Sometimes I can get away with 1 page of note and I have like everything I want to talk about in there. I have 3 pages of notes, and even my 2 pages of notes, it's never usually 2 full pages. It's like 1 page and then a few lines on the next page. I have 3 full pages of notes. So I have feelings about the show. So yeah, Dear Doctor, I'm Coming for Soul is a 2022 fantasy drama. It stars Nut and Karn, who we know from Grey Rainbow. They played in Grey Rainbow 2 college students who fell in love, got married, and then one died, and we all got depressed. So I was actually excited about Dear Doctor to have them, come back, and I was like, do not do this to me again. I can't do it. And this time it's about a doctor and a soul reaper who fall in love, spend their entire lives together. And yeah. So now, because this is of course a Studio Wabi Sabi production, I knew it was going to be a hit or miss, because that is just what they bring us. They are definitely a powerhouse with putting out a lot of amazing things, or at least just putting out constant BL content, but they're not always good at putting out consistently great content, and that is definitely an issue. For me, where I feel like they set the standard for what we're seeing from a lot of studios right now is with the release of Love by Chance season 1, and that was because of the romance between A and Pete. It was very pure, it was very sweet, it was very romantic, and I feel like they helped change the game in what we expect from studios because of Love by Chance season 1. They definitely had some missteps. I've talked about how I can't stand End of Love. I don't know how I got through those, but having a lot of those smaller projects definitely helped to keep them relevant and gave them the opportunity to make some great stories. I love that they have so many actors under their belt like Yacht that they can continue to use in projects, and this leads to now Dear Doctor. I was excited, like I said, for the on-screen reunion of Nut and Karn. They're going to be playing enemies to lovers. It was a lot of enemies though. slowly to frenemies, and then to lovers. And I guess they foreshadowed the lovers from the beginning, but I still felt like it just took so long to get there. When we finally get there, it was like the end of the show, and I was like, okay. 2-3 solid episodes of relationship, and not even no, not even 3 solid episodes of relationship, huh? Okay, whatever. I loved most of the original show they were in, Grey Rainbow, when we first saw them together. And of course, like almost anyone who rewatches Grey Rainbow, anytime I rewatched it, I would stop right before, because I needed to create my own happy ending for them and not focus on the really horrible ending and the horrible coping mechanism that Porsche had in that series. Hey, another Porsche. Now, Dear Doctor, I really was hoping it would become the show that like rights the wrongs of Grey Rainbow, and it did in some sense of some of the things they did in the show, but I really feel like they were relying on fans of Grey Rainbow to make Dear Doctor like the talk of the town, I guess. And that makes me sad, because if they're just relying on fan service, relying on the shipping element, even though they didn't do too much fan service, which I really did like. COVID has brought us some good things. It focusing on that, I feel like pulled or deprived the story of a lot of the things that it needed. So, like, one of the things that stood out for me was Yacht. He was cast as Meta, and it wasn't even the fact that he was cast as a doctor. I was like, okay, he can be a young-looking doctor, but I'm supposed to believe that Meta and Prakan are the same age? And I felt like, all right, we're going a little too far in this suspension of disbelief. I know they're like only 5 years apart, but still. Like Yacht does just look so young that it's hard for me to see him as this tenured doctor. And that's what he was supposed, I feel like they were trying to go for. He was supposed to be playing. Like, usually doctors who are going up for, in like a lot of the shows, I think a great example is what's the name of that show again? I can't remember the name of the actor, but it's like the doctor show, and like the whole concept is he has autism, but he's a great doctor. And the people we see going up for chief of surgeon at least have a little gray in their hair, and these were two very young guys who were like going for the board, and I'm like, I don't see it. I just don't see it. And that hurts the storyline, I feel, because they had a really great concept on hand, the idea of soul reapers and this doctor who can see only this one soul reaper. And of course, we come to find out why this one soul reaper is the only one he could see. And I felt like there was something there, especially with the fact that they showed that, no, there's a bunch of soul reapers in this hospital. They could have done so much with that, with him freaking out like, I'm gonna make sure you can't take this person. He's like, I'm not the one with that card. And like him going, wait, what? And because he can't see any of the other soul reapers, he doesn't know if the person he has is gonna die or not, because of course Tuapi does not have the everyone's ticket. Like, there's so many other things that we could have seen and still had a lot of the plot points that they were trying to drive, even with him trying to get the position, going up for the position with his cousin that he is going for. And one of the reasons why I'm going back to Yacht, one of the reasons why I just couldn't see Yacht, and I technically also couldn't see Nut going for these positions, is because these shows, they're casting young, attractive actors as doctors to attract, everybody who wants to see young, pretty people on screen. But with that kind of storyline, you can still get someone older and attractive. A great example is in Together With Me, the series, Dr. Bright. He was still sexy as hell, but he was definitely older. He looked like what I would expect a doctor who is going up for like a board position at a hospital to look like. And I think that was a misstep with this show, because I found with the age of the actors, it was harder to take them seriously. I would have been able to take them seriously if there were older doctors there as well in the full scenarios, but because they were the lead surgeons, and the only lead surgeons that seemed to be working at the hospital, it was just so much harder to take the entire thing seriously. And that definitely was a huge misstep, I believe, on Studio Wabi Sabi's part. And I guess they just want to work with the actors they have, and because they got Nutton Carn and everybody loves them, and loves them together and wanted to see them together again, and they were able to get them signed, they went with that. But yeah, I have to also talk about Dr. Prakan and why I couldn't stand him for most of the show. They want to play him as being admirable. He's striving to be a good doctor. He wants to save lives. He has all these ideas of how we can save more lives at this hospital, all that stuff. But his I want to know if he always was this naive about death, even before meeting the Soul Reaper and finding out about Soul Reapers. Because this idea, like in the very first episode, the father, yeah, I understand him saying, all right, we need to save this father's life because his ticket has been punched, so we need to work on saving his life. But it felt like he was like, if he dies, it's my fault, which they didn't even try and play like a, does he maybe feel? No, he felt like every episode felt like when someone died, he blamed himself because he should be able to save everyone. Everyone can be saved and I shall do it. And it's like, sir, people die young and old. And I get that they were also trying to play with the whole idea with his mom and his mom being in the hospital, and that's why he's treating death the way he treats it, sees death the way he sees it, him working so hard to save his mom. But like, especially when they showed him ignoring his mother's pain, ignoring his mom saying, look, I am ready to go. When I say anger welled up in me, I mean anger. Like I wanted to punch him, because we know in real life, doctors have those conversations with patients. They ask them, especially in situations like that, do you want to continue treatment or do you just want to stop treatment here? And if a patient says they want to stop treatment, they stop treatment. The fact that he kept forcing, I'm like, what kind of advice would he give to his patients, especially patients who are deteriorating slowly and they don't want to go through this anymore? They want to make their last few months happy and just enjoy that time with their family. And what kind of advice are you going to give? Like, this dragged up so much, so many things that I just didn't want to think about or focus on. And man, honestly, as I watched Dr. Prakan, I'm just like thinking he really needs to get in therapy. He needs therapy because he's just not coping well in the kind of business he is in. Because every doctor who does surgery or who does, they know that there's a risk that they might lose a patient, and he's not coping with those risks that you might lose a patient. And this show did a lot of huge promises, like, oh yeah, we promise you will survive, we promise, and you're not supposed to promise things like that because you never know. And I get it, it's fiction, it's just a show, but it upset me so much because shows like this also, for people who aren't in the hospital every day or aren't in any medical field every day, don't get to see it often, a lot of times this is their only experience with seeing these drastic situations, these situations where people need all these surgeries. So a lot of them, they don't get any day-to-day or ever have to know someone who has to go through these surgeries, or know someone who's going through cancer or anything like that. And when they watch shows like this and all the other shows that are out there, I don't even know if Grey's Anatomy is still on, but all those other shows, they watch those and goes, that's how doctors should be. And I'm just like, no, that's not how doctors are in real life though. But also, you're gonna like you're if you really expect your doctors to act the way Dr. Prakan acted throughout this whole thing, oh boy. For me, like, watching it, I felt like Mehta should definitely get the position only because of that, because Prakan just doesn't seem to have a good grip on what he's going through, and he needs to get through that patch before he goes for a position like that, because he's not ready. He's just not ready. Yeah, I just could not. If anything, maybe he should have worked in something like patient advocacy, and he just advocate for patients who ask him to who need his help advocating for them, being their voice in those situations. And then when his job is done, he's done. Because I just don't know, like, even if he's a good surgeon, he's not good at coping, and that is just not something I would want to see in my doctor. If I'm going into surgery, I don't want a surgeon who can't cope with death, because, like, imagine if I die for a minute on the table and this surgeon is freaking the hell out. Like, oh my gosh. It's probably his daddy issues, because yes, he does have daddy issues, which get resolved when he finds out his daddy was not a bad person. Yay. And yeah, let me move on and talk about the other half of the relationship, Tuapi. What's his name? Sanya was his name when he was alive. This is why I don't love him. I don't hate him, but I don't love him. When he showed up originally, I was like, wow. And with the whole concept, originally I was into it because I thought it was just going to be the situation where this guy finds out he can see a soul reaper, and it's because they're fated to be together, you know, something like that. Finding out that Sanya had a brotherly relationship with Prakan when he was a child made it disgusting, because no matter how I try and change it, it's just like no. And it got to the point where I was like, I need to talk to someone else about this and see if maybe I'm crazy. And I ended up finding someone, it was confirmation bias, but who agreed that it was just like because I can understand Prakan falling in love with Tua, but I can't understand Tua with the knowledge of, like, their relationship and the fact that he saw him as an older as a little brother going into a romantic relationship. It was awkward for me, and I get it, like, we want to see Nut and Khan together, we want to see Tua and Prakan, but I just wish that childhood story didn't exist, or because it would have been better, I feel, if it was just a random guy who he had never met, whose heart he got, and that's why he can see the soul reaper, because it just happened to be the guy who died on the table, and he got that guy's heart. And they could have still had the story that Prakan's dad jumped the line by saying, yes, he was the one in surgery, and then his son got the heart. Do you think he killed that guy? They could have still had that storyline, but just have it that they never met when he was a kid, which I would have preferred. I honestly would have preferred. And one of the reasons why I would have preferred it is because of the ending. Yes. So additional spoiler alert if you're listening to this. When the show ends, it ends with Prakan's death, which I was like, oh my god, he's dead. And they see each other and he takes him to his next journey in the afterlife. And, you know, he got to watch Prakan grow old, and that's all romantic, that's sweet. And I'm thinking he's gonna go off into the world, he's gonna continue to work, and he's gonna forever have Prakan in his heart, you know, something like that. But then we see a child who I'm guessing is the reincarnation of Prakan, because he looks just like, it's the same actor who played him as a child. But yeah, I'm thinking, okay, this is just the reincarnation, but why can this kid also see Tua? And Tua is like smiling. And I said it again, like someone and I talking about it, we're just like, yeah, that was weird. And it's like, does no one in the writer's room like look at that and go, maybe we should not put that in? Because even Mr. Young, when I was telling him about it, and I tried to like say it in a way that I wasn't being judgmental, like, okay, this was the ending of the show, and I said that, and he went, oh, so now he can groom this kid to be his lover too. I'm like, okay, I'm not crazy. And I felt like maybe I was the one going crazy. And it's just so sad, because I really, if it wasn't for him knowing him when he was a child, and if it wasn't for him seeing his reincarnated child self again, I would have considered this show to be romantic, on the romance side. But because of those two things, it's harder for me to accept the romance, if that makes sense to you. Will this be on my rewatch list? Probably not. And not just for the reasons that I have talked about, because I do have some other issues. I feel like at some places the acting was clunky. There are scenes where the actors all looked very uncomfortable being on camera, and I was wondering, like, is this like the 50th take and they're all just tired at this point because they're outside and it's hot? It feels like there was a lot of clumsy direction going on at some parts of it. But yeah, at the end of the day, did I hate the show? No, I didn't hate the show. But like I said, it's not necessarily a rewatch for me. I can definitely tell that they put a lot of hard work into it. Even though I feel like some of the script writing was lazy. But they definitely put a lot of hard work into it. Everybody really poured their heart and soul into it. I enjoyed the concept a lot, and I enjoyed the concept better than the execution of it. As far as it being a BL, I feel like the BL storyline was more with the side characters Kita and Nati. I feel like they had more of a BL storyline, and I could see their love growing. It got to the point where I was like, oh, I guess the BL storyline is Kita and Nati, and in the end these two are just going to be friends, and it's more of a bromance storyline. That's what I felt like was at one point was going to happen, until of course the whole thing came out and saying Nut said, hold on, there's going to be romance and blah blah blah. Dear Doctor, I'm Coming for Soul, I didn't is there a book? I honestly don't know, because I haven't read it. I should probably, no, I can't put myself through it, because if I read it and I find out that I end up liking the show more than the book, that would not be good. That would not be a good thing. And what makes it worse as well, I feel like Dear Doctor had really great competition, because of course while the end episodes are airing, well, not even the end episodes, because Kin and Porsche is now on episode 10, so episode 11 is getting ready to come out. So yeah, during a lot of its run, Kin Porsche is out, you know, and a lot of people, the main reason they got Ichi subscription was to watch Kin Porsche. getting, early access to Dear Doctor was like a plus side of all that. Yeah, I feel a lot of things. One of the things I feel like is that they didn't lean into the fantasy element of the show enough. I feel like there could have been more fantasy. And I also wonder how much filming during COVID affected them, because it was an empty hospital. There was nothing going on. A lot of hospital shows, when you watch them, they're always having people walking back and forth in the background. There's always something going on. There's people in beds, all that stuff. So you can constantly see something going on, and it looks like a busy hospital. And this just didn't look like a busy hospital. Did they have like sounds playing in the background to make it sound like Dr. Prakan, please come to room 5, Dr. Prakan, like, that the whole thing that was sometimes randomly play? Did they even do that? I can't even remember. Honestly, I have to give the show a 4 out of 10. And the score is because, like I said, I really liked the concept. There were things that they did that I really liked with the tickets. When Prakan Soul left his body the first time and he was like, okay, well, I'm ready to go. And he had a ticket, and Tua explaining, oh no, it's not your time yet, for him to go back, and he is resuscitated. Same thing with, oh god, what's her name again? Nook? The girl the girl who likes pink peach soda. Meta's future wife. Having the ticket and that being the reminder for him that made him go, all right, fine, I'll go to the underworld and I'll finally face up to my punishment. Stay there for like a year, and Prakan held out for that year. I liked most of the elements that I liked had to do with him soul reapering, and I think it's because I really I wanted more of the whole soul reaper dumb. Like, I would have loved that scene where there was like a bus crash or something, but it was like a bunch of people being brought in. I would have loved a whole thing where maybe Prakan is like, as everybody's bodies are laying out, he's like looking at Tua and it's like, who are you looking at, whatever, and he, like, Tua is explaining, look, that guy's gonna die, that woman's gonna die, the rest of them are gonna live, I think you should focus on the rest of them. And then Prakan going, no, we need to focus on the 2 who you say are gonna die, we need to make sure they live too. And then, like, going into a whole thing with that, or even like having it show where he finally does cheat death and he's thinking, yeah, I've cheated death, this person's back to life, and like Tua kind of standing there like, okay, their ticket just came back to me, they're gonna die in like 5 minutes, and then the person dies in 5 minutes, because even if you think you've cheated death, you've saved the person, they die in the end, something like that, if that makes sense. I just, there is so much that I really feel could have been done with this show where I feel like they wasted their potential. And that's really sad, because I just, like I said, I wanted more. I just really wanted more from them. There was stuff that I liked. Like I said, there was a lot of stuff that I did enjoy. There's stuff I wanted to see more of. But there was just so much that I was just brought me out of the show completely, that I was like, okay. All right, cool. Sure, yeah, that's a storyline. Yeah. I guess that's all I have to say about Dear Doctor, the series. It's a show. It has an ending. It showed us stuff. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Time for BL. I'm sorry for that lackluster ending. I do hope you have a wonderful morning, evening, afternoon, and good night, whatever it is, wherever you are.